Hey, welcome to Draft Academy. My name is Mike. In this lesson, we're going to talk about variables in Hugo. Now, variables are basically pieces of information about either your pages or your website that we can use inside of our templates to make our website better. The first thing I want to do is just kind of show you my setup. And so over here in my content folder, I just have a bunch of different markdown files, a bunch of different pieces of content that I can use. And then over here in my layouts folder, I just have a sort of a blank list layout, and then I have a blank single layout. You can only use variables in Hugo inside of templates or inside of this layouts folder. And so you can't actually use or access Hugo variables inside of the content, right? So inside of this a.markdown file, I'm actually not going to be able to access one of the variables that we're going to be talking about. You can only access them inside of this layouts folder. You want to have like a list template or a single template or a different type of template if you want to be using variables. In my case, I'm going to be using this single.html file and this list.html file to talk about different variables. The first thing I want to talk about is accessing variables about your pages, okay? And there's a couple different variables that I want to go over. And the first thing is just to kind of show you the syntax. And so the syntax for accessing a variable is these open and closed curly brackets. And then inside of here, you want to, basically you want to write the name of the variable that you want to access. And so the most common variable that you're going to be using is .title. Okay. Now I'm displaying .title inside of this single.html template. And so now when I go over to my website, here I am at a single template, right? So I'm here at this a markdown file, and you can see over here in this content folder, it's basically just right there. And when I refresh the page, you'll see that a pops up, right? And so a is the title of this page. So if I go over here to a.markdown, you'll see here's the title. And if I changed this to say like a is the title, when I save and refresh the page, that's going to update over here, right? So if you want to access the title of your page, you can just do it using .title. You can also do .date, and so .date is going to be very similar. It's just going to display the date. And there's a couple other useful variables like .url is another one you'll be using a lot. And .url basically just spits out the URL of the page. And so in this case, it's just /a. If I was going to go to one of the other files, so I think dir1/b, you can see that the URL is going to change, right? So it reflects the URL that's up here. Now, those are some common variables that you're going to be using. But in addition to these really common variables, we can also access variables that are located in our front matter. So we're here on the a.markdown file. And up here in the front matter, I can create a custom variable, right? So I could say like my var, and I can give it a value, right? So my value, okay? Now, if I want to access this variable inside one of my templates, I can do it like this. I can say .params.myvar. So it's .params. The name of the variable. Now, you might be thinking like, wait, that's weird because when we access the title, all we had to do was type out .title. We didn't have to type out .params.title. And that's because title is such a common variable, as is date and URL, that you don't have to access it using this .params. You can just access it normally. But if you create a custom front matter variable like we did over here, you have to access it using this .params.myvar. And so now if we head over to our page, you'll see that I'm here on this directory1/b template. And so nothing is showing up because we didn't add a myvar front matter variable to that. However, if we come over here and we just go to this a page, you'll notice that my value pops up, right? And that's the value that we gave to this variable. And so you can do this, as much as you want. You can create as many front matter variables as you want to create, and then you can access them inside of these template files, okay? So in addition to accessing front matter variables and custom front matter variables, you can actually create your own custom variables as well. So I can come down here and I can type out $, and then my var name, right? So the name of the variable, and then a colon and equals, and then you want to give this a value, right? So I could give this a string value. I could also give this a numerical value, so like 3, or I could give this a Boolean value like true. In this case, we'll just give it a string. And then I can come down and I can just print out that variable, and I can access it by using that same $ and my var name. And so now when I go over to my web browser, you'll see that a string pops up, and we're printing it out, right? So that can be really useful. You can also use variable names in conjunction with HTML elements, right? So, imagine I wanted to create like a header. I could take this variable and I could pop it in here to this header, and it's going to display it as a header. And so, using these different variables in conjunction with HTML elements is really useful. Another thing you can do is define, for example, like a color. And so if I was going to go into this a.markdown file, right, I could say here, we'll give this like color, and I can give it a value, right? So I could say like blue. And then we'll head over to this b.markdown file, and we'll give this a color, and let's just say red. And then finally we'll go to C, we'll give this a color, and we'll make it green. So if we go here to this single.html template, we could actually change the color of this title, for example. So over here we could say style is equal to, and we'll just type color. And then in here we can put these 2 curly brackets, and we can say dot params dot color, and we'll close this off. And now you'll see when we go over to our pages, A is blue. If we go over to, I think it's dir1b, it's red. And when we go to C, it's green. And so you can conditionally change like CSS styling if you want, using front matter variables. And you can use those variables inside of like CSS, just like we did here. And so the possibilities for this stuff is really endless. And there's a wide variety of variables that you can access through Hugo. I don't have time to go through all of them in this video, but I do just want to point you to this website, and it's gohugo.io/variables. This is the official Hugo Docs. And this is a great place for you to go to kind of see what variables are available. And Hugo breaks down these variables into different types. So we have like site-wide variables, page variables, taxonomy variables, file variables, menu variables, Hugo specific variables. And what you should do is just kind of click through. So for example, page variables, you can click through and just kind of see like all the variables that are available. And so there's all these different things that you can access and use inside of your Hugo files. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to Draft Academy to be the first to know when we release new content. Also, we're always looking to improve, so if you have any constructive criticism or questions or anything, leave a comment below. Finally, if you're enjoying Draft Academy and you want to help us grow, head over to draftacademy.com/contribute and invest in our future.